since then. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. I'm still just a little bit confused about what changed between 1 p.m. on Friday and around 4:30 p.m. on Friday to go from we're not raising the refugee cap to we are raising it by May 15th. What changed in those 3.5 hours?
Well, I think as I just outlined, we never said we're not raising the refugee cap. In the morning we said, actually, and with the information we put out, was that once we reach 15,000, we will raise it. That was not accounted for in some of how people were, let me finish, some of how people were digesting the information. And we wanted to be clear and send a message that we are a country that is welcoming refugees. Let's be clear, we are changing the policies of the last administration. We are changing the policy of not welcoming in people from Africa or people from the Middle East. That was the biggest factor preventing refugees from coming in during the last administration.
So are you saying this had nothing to do with the pushback from some Democrats on Capitol Hill, from Senator Dick Durbin to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
I don't think you've articulated to me what our change in policy was. What was our change in policy from the morning to the afternoon?
The executive order from Friday morning said that the admission of up to 15,000 refugees remains justified, period. And yes, there was a caveat that you could raise that cap later, but I mean, it explicitly
says pretty important caveat that when we reach 15,000, a subsequent presidential determination could be made. And again, the biggest challenge, because people weren't understanding what we were conveying to the public and weren't conveying what we were trying to project to countries around the world. And it's incumbent upon us to make sure there's an understanding of what the president's policies are, what he's trying to achieve, and what he feels morally is that we're going to welcome in refugees from around the world, change the policies from the past administration where they were not welcoming in refugees from the Middle East and Africa. And that was important to him to take that first step and move it forward.
The line said the admission of up to 15,000 refugees remains justified. And can you understand how some people would interpret that?
Well, I think we all have a responsibility to provide all of the context. And so what I'm conveying is that we also included is reached that a subsequent presidential determination would be issued to increase admissions. And again, the battle is not the cap. The issue has been the limitations that have been put in place in the past. We overturned those and changed those, and it was always meant to be a first step.
So back to my other question, does this have anything to do with the pushback from Democrats on Capitol Hill?
I don't think you've articulated what our change in policy is, so go ahead.
That's not my job to do that. That's not my job to do that.
It is if you're asking a question. Go ahead.
I'm asking about the pushback from progressives on Capitol Hill.
But what was our change from the morning to the afternoon?
The change from the morning to the afternoon was that you explicitly said the admission of up to 15,000 refugees remains justified, and in the afternoon you said that the president would be raising the cap on or before May 15th.
In the morning we also said that if 15,000 is reached, that a subsequent presidential determination would be issued to increase admissions. That was not clearly understood. We felt it was incumbent upon us to make sure people understood and were clear that our objective was to welcome in more refugees, and we remain committed to our goal.
And I have one more question.
Sure.
President Biden over the weekend called what happened at the border a crisis. Is that now the official White House position, that there is indeed a crisis at the border?
Well, let me first say that we have made some progress in moving children from out of Border Patrol facilities into shelters. Nearly 1,000 unaccompanied minors were transferred out of CBP facilities and into the care of Health and Human Services just this weekend. We still have a lot of work to do, but that is a step forward in our view. The president does not feel that children coming to our border seeking refuge from violence, economic hardships, and other dire circumstances is a crisis. He does feel that the crisis in Central America, the dire circumstances that many are fleeing from, that is a situation we need to spend our time, our effort on, and we need to address it if we're going to prevent more of an influx of migrants from coming in years to come. Go ahead.